Though we don't know when it was invented, we do know it started with a Japanese samurai developing a way to fight off an opponent when they were too close in to use a sword or do a kick. So they're focused on a series of pins, joint hooks, and forks. Here's one way to put it. Joe? Though it was made earlier than the 17th century, it wasn't called jiu-jitsu until the 17th century, and it's based off of judo. The main purpose of it is to see that a smaller person can take down a larger and stronger opponent, and rather than just muscling them down in a fight. Another version of it comes off of judo, which is what it was based off of, and is made. And it's also can be used to use your opponent's momentum, like I just shown with Tyler. Mitsuyo Maeda brought jiu-jitsu to Brazil from Japan in 1914. He basically went around the world challenging anyone to beat him in a fight, so in order to prove that jiu-jitsu was the best martial art. Eventually, he met Carlos Gracie and his dad, and they provided a place for him to stay. In return, Mitsuyo Maeda helped them train them in the way of jiu-jitsu. Carlos Gracie and his brothers are mostly credited for bringing Brazilian jiu-jitsu to the United States just before World War II. Though there are many differences between karate and jiu-jitsu, there are some similarities. Like both arts originated in Japan and came over into America in the early 20th century, or before World War II, or shortly after it. Both arts wear gis, and none are both weapons-based martial arts like kung fu and other kinds. That's about where the similarities end. Karate has more of a stand-up element because they punch, kick, jump kick, and do all sorts of stuff. They focus on their physical capabilities and the black belt principles: perseverance, self-control, humility, integrity, and honesty. Jiu-jitsu has wants to be on the ground so they can use leverage. Often, they still need to be strong and quick at times, and they're mostly on balance and leverage and strength to use the opponent. Translated, jiu-jitsu means the way of yielding, where karate means the way of open hand. Here at Turner's Martial Arts, we study both kinds of both. You see the way of the open hand in the katas that we learn, and the fact that we do not use weapons in our katas. You also see the way of yielding in the way of our self-defenses, which we have been learning here soon, especially control machines. Often Master Turner talks about that we do not have opponents, we have partners. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not only a sport, it's not only a martial art, it is a sport. There are winners and losers, there are opponents and allies. In fact, there are whole competitions for all 8 belt levels and age levels. In fact, my cousin Jeff has won the Masters Blue Belt National No-Gi rolling competition. Since BJ has been back, we have been learning a lot more. We have been learning more of grappling moves that center around jiu-jitsu, like the figure 4, triangle choke, and the rear naked choke. I have a few to demonstrate and show to the group how a smaller person can even take a bigger person with a good technique. The first is an alternative way to get out of the rear barrier. This is what I call a 2-on-1 concept. Even though I am very smaller than him, it shows that I can break away with this paragraph. The 2-on-1 concept is that two hands on one thing can break away. The next demonstration is the triangle choke. It's called the triangle choke. The triangle choke starts out in the guard position. First, you post on the hip so that they cannot wiggle out of it. Then you shove their arm through your little leg, for that little hold down there. Next, you pull this up. Notice that if you do it wrong, they can easily get out of it. But if you do it correctly, it is very hard for them to get out of it. Next, you hook onto this, and you notice it looks like a fork. Then you post the hips and squeeze, making a tiny space where their head and neck is smaller.
Charlie, can I have you do that one more time where your head is facing this way?
So you start out in guard position, and you post on their hips so they can't wiggle out of it. Next, you shove your arm through a hole in your leg where it's posting. Then you grab the leg and pull it up over their neck. Then you put your leg over your foot and basically post the hips, squeezing a tiny space. Notice there are many steps in these things that if you get wrong, they can easily turn your attack into your tap out. One of my favorite ones of mine is probably the bowing ear necktie. My dad hates this.
That's not my favorite.
First, you start out in the side mount. It is very tough, and I've done it on my brother a few times. First, you post the hips so they can't wiggle against you, which I'll show you why. Because as you're going, part of this is you're actually turning around. Notice when you're halfway through the turn, your head/groin area should be somewhere around their face, and their arm should somewhat be around their neck. If it isn't, you can use this arm as you're coming around to pull it over their neck. Next, you go around all the way into an opposite side mount. As you can see, his arm is over his neck. And first, you want to get him off his shoulders and do what I call a reverse choke. Next, you try the cable hook, which is basically not grabbing your hand, but actually making a stronger grip without even turning around, making all your fingers go under them. Next, you still get them off their shoulders and put your leg over their neck, put your other leg over there, and basically you come out like this. You push with your leg, and you pull with your arm, and it can easily tap out. Notice he cannot really get out of this. That just goes to show you that I can take down my dad. I hope you have enjoyed my verbal presentation.